Hello to everyone. My name is Joshua Richards, founder of OSINT Practice and part of the leadership team in the UK OSINT Community. And I manage all of these capture the flags that go out. Thankfully, we've had lots of great help from people, including the ones who made this week's challenges for China OSINT. Hopefully everyone enjoyed that. I know for me as well, it was something very new. I had never done any China OSINT things before. So luckily, previous general OSINT kind of workflows and OSINT mindsets and everything came into it that really helped to kind of solve them all anyway. And the China part of it didn't really interfere too much. But let me know in the chat. Let me know, how did it all go for you guys here? How did you find it? Did you enjoy it? Did you struggle with any specific parts? And yeah, let me know how you all got on. And I will share my screen now so we can go through it. Like I said, I was also very new to China OSINT. So if there's any questions that you guys have that I can't answer, we can always throw those over to like EP Cyber and Ava, who might be able to answer those a lot better than me. But I will do my best to answer any that I can as well. We'll jump straight into the Chinese dark web ghost. With this one, you start off by going down and reading the briefing. Always pay attention to if there's any documents attached, because in that briefing, that would give you some bits of information about what kind of things the challenges would cover from start to finish, so that you have an idea of the kind of things you would be required to do. And in this particular one, there was some disclaimers around making sure that you're comfortable with your operational security and the accounts that you have set up. Because with this one, while the previous weeks were all fictitious stories that, we set up, this one is actually, more real. You actually have to go into a real community that is from a dark web forum or dark web community. And so I just wanted to make sure that people were aware of that and didn't think that this was all part of some big game where they could go messaging people and asking them for the answers and things like that, because who knows what could happen then. So always be sure to read those briefings and read through the questions multiple times. I would recommend as well. We still see lots of people answering incorrectly because they're not using things like the right format, or just the format in general. They might be inputting different things wrong, adding characters that we say aren't required, or just not using the OSINT UK format. So I definitely recommend having a read through that multiple times as well. But so for challenge 1, this asks you to go to a blog that is linked to you here. So let's go to that. And we have to find within this page a onion link. So if it's the dark web and things that you kind of access usually through things like Tor, the onion router, those domains, instead of ending with .com, they're going to end in things like .onion. Not things, it's just that .onion. And so what we can do on this page, because you'll see that when you scroll down, you can't see very much of this article before it tells you, well, it does this, and you have to log in. And to log in or register, you need a Chinese phone number. So that's obviously something that we don't really want to do. If we just do a Control F to actually use the find function for the browser, we can do a search for .onion. And you'll see that here there's 7 different results. But if I try to go through them, there's none that we can really see apart from these 2 hits down here, which are not part of an actual domain. You can see visit.onion websites. This is not the domain we're actually looking for. So the rest of them clearly are hidden within the other part of the article that we cannot see. But the fact that we're able to do the browser find function and it says that there is results on this page, that should be enough to tell you that they are on the page. We wouldn't be getting results if they weren't somewhere on the page. So what we can do is right click and go down into inspect element. Sometimes misconception, and with myself as well, I've done this many times, is sometimes I'll think that the page source is the same as the inspect element, but that's not the case. Very often, for example, let's say with Twitter profiles, if you go to someone's Twitter profile and you go into the page source, you will not find, at least I didn't yesterday, you will not find a Twitter account ID. But when you go into the inspect, you do find that user's account ID. So the inspect element is different to the page source. I think especially because it's more dynamic, especially websites nowadays, they have all of these moving elements. The page source doesn't really change. The inspect element can change dynamically, update, and do all of these fancy things. So I would always recommend definitely have a check in the inspect element, as that's where you're more likely to find these kinds of things. So now that you open up the inspect element, we want to do another Control F, or if you're on a Mac, Command F, to open the find function within the inspect element dev tools. It's called like developer tools in the browser. So make sure that you're not clicked on the page, because if you click on the page normally and now you do Control F, that's going to open up the find function up here. We want to click inside. You can click anywhere in the inspect element, and now Control F, and you see that opens this additional box down here. So now here we can search for .onion again. And you see instantly that now opens the other part of the page that we couldn't see previously. So before, we could click on that drop down and it didn't do anything because we had to log in. But now literally just going into the inspect element, I literally didn't even do anything. Just open inspect element, type .onion, and it just opened the rest of the article. That's the kind of stuff that can happen on these pages. You'll very often see as well things where maybe a page, let's just say, because I've seen these examples a lot on data broker websites or like people search websites in the United States, they will give you some information and then they'll blur everything else out. Like maybe 20 email addresses, they will blur them out until you pay for it. But it's literally just like you'll see in here, I won't go into it all, but you see like span class and there's like a class that might just be called blur. And as soon as you just remove that, it's not blurred anymore. Sometimes you don't even have to change the code. You can literally just hover over the text on the page and it just isn't blurred anymore. So there's so much information that you will uncover by looking at the inspect element that you can completely miss if you just stick to visually looking at the page. So we're not just talking about China OSINT. For any investigation you're doing on any website, any profile, anything, always have a look in the inspect element because you can find so much really great stuff. And I won't go into the whole DevTools stuff, but there's so many other tabs up here like sources and it's a bit cut off here, but the network requests, so much incredible information you can find in these different tabs. Maybe that's a future video that we can do. But okay, so we've got the .onion. I actually cannot copy and paste it from here, so I need to go over here, copy and paste the domain. And let's go down, OSINT UK. And there we go. We've got that first one correct. So let's move on to the next challenge. Someone in the chat, inspect element. I did it the Chinese way by looking for another site that copied the whole article. Fair enough. That's the other thing that we've always mentioned every week now, that there's always so many different ways to accomplish these challenges. Like with the first week, the first challenge, there was, an unlimited amount of websites that you could use because it could be solved using normal photo editing applications. You could solve it using actual kind of forensic software. You could solve it in so many different ways. So that's what makes all of these write-ups that people do really interesting to read, because you learn different methods that can accomplish the same task. So if your resource goes down in the future, you now know other ways to accomplish the same thing. Okay, so Chinese underground communities often operate in parallel communication channels on ClearNet platforms like Telegram for easier access and real-time discussion. So we now need to go from that dark web domain we just found and find what is their Telegram group called. So simple thing we can do here is just do a Google search for the dark web domain. I always just put things in quotation marks. You don't always need to, but it just makes sure that it's a more specific search. So we've got a few different results here. Let me get rid of this. And if we go down, just a few results down from the top, you'll see things like tgstat for Telegram kind of tool. And that gives us the name CABYC. And you'll actually notice that that is the start of their dark web domain as well. You'll often find that. Obviously, most of the dark web domain is jumbled up and it is very randomized. But you'll often see, especially with bigger groups, and I mean, for example, Facebook has their own dark web domain, and like the BBC, loads of different, the CIA, like all of these different websites and companies have their own dark web domains. And typically with those, you'll see that the first couple letters in the domain is their company or their organization. And then it continues on with random stuff. So that can be a quick and easy way to identify some things sometimes, but of course not all of the time. So I have no idea what it says because I do not speak Chinese, but but yeah, so we can see here straight away, and then down here as well, there's another result from Telegram, which again has view at CABYC. So we can just take that, or I can just not. There we go. And then we enter that OSINT UK, the group name, and we get that correct. All right. And yeah, so lots of people in the chat saying that, yeah, you just found the full article for the first one. That's interesting. I know I very often see when there's one article, yeah, there's always other people posting the full one. So that's an interesting other technique. But yeah, the intention of this first one was using the browser tools and things like that, just to show that when things say they're hidden on a page, it doesn't always mean that they actually are restricted or hidden. They can be there, very easy to find just using the inspect element browser tools. So on to challenge number 3, the promoter. Within the Telegram channel, users promote various illegal services. One individual is advertising what appears to be illegal gambling platforms using professional marketing language, and then it gives some different terminology that individual used within his post. So what we have to do is actually go and join that Telegram channel. I'm curious to hear if anyone managed to solve it without actually joining it. But I believe the intention was you had to join it because, at least to my knowledge, there weren't really any additional tools that had scraped that information, something like that. Okay, Masked Man, you did it without joining. I was curious about that because sometimes I see with Telegram, you can go online and access it. You can like view it as a guest, but I couldn't really see that with this group. So I wasn't too sure if that was possible. Ah, okay. So yeah, people in the chat saying you do have to be logged in, but you could still read the chat without joining. That's very interesting to know because yeah, I think I just joined it and guessing it's probably a lot better if you can read it without actually joining it. So that's really good to know. But okay, so nonetheless, you have to go into the group and use the search function. And I don't have Telegram open right here. So what I did is just put together an image so that you can kind of see. Like I did it on a mobile phone where I just went to the group on Telegram, run a quick search here for, I clicked on the actual search button for the group. run a search on one of the terms that were given to us in the challenge text. And that comes up with this message here. And in this message, you can see we have the same term that I searched for. We have a website. And then at the bottom, we have the QQ number. And that is what we are searching for initially here in this challenge. And we'll come back to this. Obviously, this is the user who posted it, which you can see just by clicking on the username at the top. That takes you into their profile, and you can see the actual official Telegram username and their bio and things like that, which come into future answers. So I am just going to take this. I copied it over here. And let's enter that in here. So that is the QQ number that was given on the Telegram post. There we go. So now the next challenge, we just have to look at that same Telegram user and just simply enter their username followed by their bio, and their bio stays in Chinese. So like I said, that is literally just you click on their name there from the post. It opens their profile. You can see their username here and their bio right underneath it. So you can just copy and paste those over, and it's as simple as that. So there wasn't much more to do with this one. Sometimes it is just like that. It doesn't always have to be some big fancy step with lots of different things. Sometimes it's just important making sure that once you find something like that post, you then also copy down who actually made that, and not just copying down like the name that you see at the top, but actually what is their proper username officially. Yep, their bio. Especially it's good to note down these things in case they change it in the future. And of course, it wasn't required in this challenge, but you're always going to want to, where possible, find their official ID as well. Because what we have here is a username. They could change that username at any time. But if you find their numeric ID, that is something that you can't change. You would have to make a new account if you want to get a different ID. So always getting the ID for real investigations is really important. And that goes for any website. You know, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Telegram, and all of the websites possible. It's always best if you can find their unique ID, not just a username that they're able to change. All right. So I've got that copied here as well. There we go. And so again, make sure that you're always getting the format correct here, that we go OSINT UK, we got the username, underscore, and then the bio there. And always making sure, I explain it every week, but the reason we especially use this kind of format is because sometimes you'll copy and paste something and there might be a space at the end, but it's very sensitive as to the text you put in. You have to get the answer exactly correct. That's why we add this format, because now you can see that there's, you know, our bracket at the end. We put the bracket so you can much more easily see now if there is an accidental space at the end. So that is why we do that. Okay, on to the next one. So this is one I think lots of people started to struggle on a little bit, but you'll see now that I think some people maybe went to overcomplicate it, or they looked into maybe some of the wrong methodologies here, when in reality, there's a really simple way to identify this website. And once you have the website, it's a very simple search to do. So we've got the QQ ID because that's what we just found in the, second to last challenge. We now need to search that QQ ID to find what phone number was connected to that account. And again, I'm new to all of this as well, but I believe from some kind of maybe, I don't know if it's like a data breach or some kind of like data broker type stuff, they were able to search the QQ ID and find what phone number is connected to that. Okay, so, right, firstly, we need to find the website. So it says here, domain. The domain we're looking for starts with AV. And then, I don't know why it says think about common data formats, actually. I don't know if the ending is some kind of data format. I have no idea. But the part that is good to focus on here, is the point that the end point, so the part after the domain, is the platform and then tell.html. So if we know that that is the endpoint that comes at the end of the domain, we're able to search for that in Google. And if you know about kind of Google Dorking or, just Google advanced queries, we're able to do things like in URL. And we know, because it says in the question, we're searching a QQID to find the telephone. We've got the underscore tell. This is asking us for the platform. So all we're looking for is a URL which has QQ underscore tell.html. So if we go back here, go in URL. So you can see here in URL : no space. And then we do QQ underscore tell.html. And we get one single result. The website does start with AV, like it says in the question. And so this is the website we're looking for. Now it says here we can enter a QQ number. So I'm going to take that, query, and it is successful, and it gives us the two different phone numbers that we now have for our answer. The answer says to enter both of the numbers like this with an underscore between them. So let's do that. There we go, and we get that one correct. So that's what I mean, that I think, lots of people maybe spent a lot of time on this one. But if you realize that the endpoint is part of the URL, and in Google we have that functionality to search part of a URL, then you can very quickly identify the website. The website instantly lets you search that QQ number and find the phone number, and it's a very quick solve from there. So on to the next one. This one is now asking us to search those phone numbers that we just found, because one of them is connected to some kind of corporate infrastructure, some kind of website, and that's what we have to find. So if we start off with the first phone number, the one ending in 958, we can again I'll leave this website open actually. Let's just go to Google, run a search for that phone number. Again, I always just put things in quotations out of habit. And we get two different websites here. One is this kind of mobile search website. And then the second one is a normal corporate website called, I'm guessing, Hyuntech. So if we try to click on that, it says the site can't be reached. It's no longer active, which I think the next question reveals anyway, I believe. But all we need for this answer is the domain. So let's go back here, OSINT UK, and make sure that you don't have any of the HTTPS or HTTP and the punctuation, just the domain. And we get that correct. So now on to the next challenge. This is where we have to actually find an archive of that website because, like I said, we can no longer access it. So if we go to the typical one, archive.org, here we can enter in the website, and there is one single archive copy of it from 2025. And so now we've got that. We've got what it was showing. And again, by default, it's in Chinese, but we can, of course, just translate it over into English. And straight away here at the top, what we're looking for here is the full company name, kind of in English, or it says here, answer in, I again don't know how to say any of this, pinyin or something like this, but it's kind of like the English one, or the one using like an English alphabet rather than the Chinese characters. So we can straight away see that right here. I think many people were also having issues with maybe the translation. I don't know whether it's they were maybe using different websites to translate it, and different websites say different things, or different word orders and stuff like that. But what we have here is this. I also tested out with AI on this one that if you just give like Gemini, I don't know about all of the AIs, but especially Google's Gemini, you give it this domain and say, what is the company's name in English? And it gives you this straight away exactly as it is here. So if I take that, let's go back here, OSINT UK. And you just have to, again, make sure you take out the punctuation and replace the spaces with underscores. And there you go, we get that one correct. And you can see on here, by the way, that it does give us more information that, of course, in investigations, we should be thinking about and be aware of. Like we have the address, telephone number, website, a different QQ number, and then a WeChat and admin email address. Especially for your actual investigations, obviously China OSINT or not, this website has been taken down. Or not taken down, but it's no longer active. So having access to all of this information, even though the website is gone, is the true power of these kinds of archives. If you just searched the number, found the website on Google and clicked it and it wasn't there, most people just move on. They think, oh, dead end. But literally look at all of the information here that still exists. You just have to know how to look for it. And of course, this is only one single archive. We could have got unlucky and there might have been 0 archives here on the Wayback Machine. So then you can try others. I won't go into this right now, but you know, there's these kinds of browser extensions here where you can literally just go to a website and click any one. You might recognize last week, I think I showed this browser extension here, search by image. It lets you just select one and then search for an image on whatever website you select, or do them all at once. This other browser extension, I think it's just called like Web Archives, is literally by the same person. It's the same kind of thing. But this one, instead of reverse image searching, this is searching for web archives. So you could literally say, search, obviously you wouldn't do it on the Wayback Machine, but go to the actual domain, then open up the extension. You could click all search engines. That's going to see if there's an archive on the Wayback Machine, Yandex's cache archives, archive.is, like all of these different ones. It's going to search in one go. It will open up a new tab on each of them with that domain already entered in. So some incredible extensions for really just saving time on these kinds of things. Okay, so let's go to the next challenge. So now we have secondary QQ extraction. This one is quite straightforward because it's just saying we need to go back and use that same OSINT resource that we previously used. We just need to do it now with the new QQ number that we get from this web archive. So let's go back to this. Just switch out the QQ number. Query successful, and we get the actual telephone number once again. Or is it not this? What am I looking for here? What is the QQ? Oh, this one is just asking for the QQ number first. There you go. This one is just the QQ number. There you go. That's why I'm saying you should read the questions. I should read the questions. And this one here is the QQ to phone secondary. So now that is where you do this part, where you go back to the website, search the QQ number to find the phone number. And that is, I believe, what this is asking, where we can enter this one. There you go. So that is correct for this one. All right, so now this next one, phone region analysis. This one is interesting because as always, I test out all of these challenges when they're sent to me and I test them out. Can AI do it? You know, what is all the different ways to actually accomplish these things? And with AI, lots of them actually kind of failed and they were giving slightly different variations of things. One also said that while, yes, you can find the original kind of the original city that the phone number was registered based on the numbers. Since around 2019, apparently, people can move to different cities and keep the same phone number. So it doesn't really tell you where they are right now, but it's just where the phone was originally registered. And also because it's quite a specific location, the answer is a very specific like city and, other location elements. You had to get it spot on kind of to actually get the answer correct. But luckily 31 solves, so lots of people did manage to, I guess, find the right resources or just trial and error until they got to the exact right location that was needed. So I've got a website open here that can be used for this kind of thing. And I will put this in the chat as well. So with this website, you're able to just go in, search the phone number. So let me go and grab that. And then up here in the top, and I can translate it as well. So mobile phone location lookup. You just enter the phone number, press query. And then straight away we get the operator or the carrier, which is China Mobile. And at the top we get card number origin. So that is the location based on the numbers in the phone. So we can, again, we need it in Chinese this time. So first we take the operator, OSINT UK, the phone operator, and then underscore, and then we take the location above it. And we get that correct. But again, so if you just went and asked AI, like I tested it earlier, I said, look at this phone number based on the numbers, give me the carrier followed by the location it's from based on the numbers, and give it back to me in this format. And it was completely wrong. I said, no, that's incorrect. It came back with another answer. That was incorrect as well. So again, sometimes AI can speed things up, but it's not always going to be correct. And it's really good to know about these other resources that can accomplish those goals maybe quicker, more accurately, or even if the AI did work, it's still really good to know about the resources in case things change in the future and one resource isn't available to you anymore. So let's move on. So now we have QQ to Weibo pivot. So before we were searching QQ numbers and getting the telephone numbers. Now we need to go from a QQ to a Weibo. So this says now pivot from the secondary QQ number to a Weibo identity using similar OSINT resources. So this one now tells us the endpoint is tel underscore and then the platform. Previously, we were searching QQ underscore tel, but now we're going telephone to and then the platform.html. And it tells us down here as well that it's only the abbreviation. You don't need the full platform name, just the abbreviation. So we can go back. We're using the same OSINT resource. Let's change around this. So we have tel underscore WB for Weibo. And we now get this, where it says we can search Weibo accounts using mobile phone numbers. So what I'm going to do is take that last phone number we got from the website and query that. And you can see hint OK, that gives us this Weibo user ID. Apparently there's tools where you could maybe just search the QQ and get the Weibo. But for this one, we had searched the QQ, gotten this phone number, and now we're searching this phone number to find the Weibo. And so now that we have this user ID here, that's not the answer. You have to use that Weibo ID to actually go and find their profile. And you can see the answer is actually their username on their account. So I'll show you here that I was kind of going through some different AI things, just asking it, Like I have someone's ID number for Weibo. What are all the various profile URL formats that I can try? And it went and told me all of these different things here. Like the most reliable is maybe on the desktop, you can use weibo.com/u and then the user ID. There's this one as well with www. There's mobile variants. You have older legacy formats that might still work. So literally you can see that for one single website and one single user ID, there's all of these different ways and formats that you could use to find that profile. But the interesting thing is, like if we try to use this one, let me go here. If we tried to maybe use this and I go to here, you can see, I don't know why it's such like a strange looking username in English, but you can see here we've got the profile. So actually we can answer the next question using this, but we're not seeing any posts. So I'll come back to that because using one of those other formats, it suddenly does show us all of the posts by doing nothing different than simply using a different URL. But for now, we can just use this to answer the next question because this current question is just asking us what is his username. So we can enter that in. There you go. So we get that correct. On to the next challenge. This one simply asks us what is their bio. This is another one where there's nothing groundbreaking you have to go and do. The bio is right here. So we can just copy and paste that over. Or what is that? Is that not the bio? Maybe I need the different URL for this as well. I don't know what that is, but let's just go into the different URL in case that is somewhere different. Basically, you can see here we're on weibo.com, but what you see down here is this mobile version is where we have m.weibo.cn and then we have user and then the ID. So if we go to that version instead, I'll just keep the user ID there. You can see now we've got all of the posts. So all of the posts that were hidden on the previous one until you log in, now we can see without logging in simply by using a different URL format. And so now this, I don't know what it was before that I typed in, but oh, do I have a space? See, I told you the spaces, that's why we use the formats, because of the space. Is it? Yeah, okay, it was just a space. That was the issue. There you go. So that one is correct. So now, device metadata. This is the final challenge. This is where you have to analyze the profile and try to find out what specific model of phone have they most recently used while using this social media profile. So let me open up Discord again. Okay, so if we go back to the profile, you can see here that on the most recent post, it says that they use an iPhone. And if we go to the translate, you can see it just says from iPhone client. But that's not a specific model. So you have to look further. Maybe you could have tried going into the inspect element. Who knows? Maybe sometimes websites might give more information. But for us in this case, if we just scroll down, let it load in some more information. Now, in these posts, we can start to see from iPhone 7 Plus. So in the most recent ones, it's just iPhone. But you go back a bit further, and now we have iPhone 7 Plus. So that is the final answer for this one. I had some people answering, much more specific things like Apple and some like number, which was much more specific. But yeah, this is the answer we needed for this one. OSINT UK, and then iPhone 7 Plus. And that is the answer for that one. And that is the challenge solved. So now when you get to that point, you can go to the solution tab, and it will tell you here, congratulations on completing the China OSINT CTF. And you can go through that form to actually claim a certificate that will have your name on it and will show that you've completed this challenge. We were potentially going to do certificates for all of them, but I think we will maybe hold off on doing that. And what the plan is now is that we will continue doing challenges every week. But then on the first Monday of every month, that will aim to be a hopefully slightly bigger or more fancy challenge. And we're getting some prizes that we will be able to give on just that one. So every first week of the month, that will be a more big or fancy one with prizes, and we will give a certificate for those ones only. Don't want to overload them too much, but that is that. So yeah, the types of prizes be things anywhere from potentially free trainings. There can be different softwares that you might have seen that are quite big and well known in the OSINT communities. So hopefully you will be getting to use some of that, maybe more enterprise softwares, or at least those professional grade softwares that you might not have had a chance to use previously, that you'll now get a chance to use by winning and competing in these capture the flags. Also potentially merchandise from different companies, and we're looking to get any more. So if anyone is watching who has anything that you would like to offer for the prizes in these capture the flag events, we would love to hear from you as well. But that is it for the walkthrough section of today. So we can